Today, we are diving into a really powerful book called Leading Without Armor. We're going to get to the bottom of a very personal mystery, one that I think a lot of us have felt. Why do even the most capable, well-intentioned leaders sometimes act in ways they totally don't intend to, especially when the pressure is really on?
So, have you ever walked away from a meeting or maybe a tough conversation and just kept replaying something you said, thinking to yourself, why did I say it like that? You went in with the best intentions, you knew what you wanted to do, but in that one critical moment, something else just took over. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And today, we're going to find out exactly why that happens.
The book gives this phenomenon a name. It calls it the gap. Picture it. You're in a big presentation, feeling good, feeling prepared, and then somebody asks an unexpected question, and your answer comes out, well, just a little sharper, maybe a little more defensive than you wanted. And even though the meeting moves on, you feel it. That's the gap. And here's the key. That gap isn't a failure of your character. It's actually a clue. So let's talk about this gap you feel. We're starting here because this is such a universal feeling, especially for high achievers. This isn't about being a bad leader, not at all. It's about being a human being whose internal wiring is, without you even knowing it, running a very, very old program. And right here, this is the key to the entire mystery. I'm going to say it again. Under pressure, you do not rise to your values. You default to your architecture. So the problem isn't that you lack willpower or that you don't have strong values. The answer is hidden in this invisible structure that the book calls your architecture. Okay, so what on earth is this architecture? Well, think of it like this. It's a brilliant, highly intelligent protective system that you built a long, long time ago, probably when you were a kid, to keep yourself safe in whatever emotional environment you were in. It was an amazing adaptation back then. But now, it's the thing that quietly hijacks your leadership style when the stakes get high. And this architecture, it's built in 3 layers, what the book calls the 3 T's. So first, at the bottom, you have T1, the toxins. This isn't about poison, it's the emotional air you breathe growing up, the unspoken tension, the rules nobody ever said out loud. Then, because of that environment, you built T2, the trauma structures. These are the ways you learn to cope, like becoming hyper-aware or always taking charge. And finally, you have T3, the thoughts. These are the powerful stories you told yourself to make sense of it all, stories that turn these survival tactics into who you think you are. Let's dig into that first layer, T1 toxins, because it's the foundation for everything else. Now, it's super important to get this. We're not necessarily talking about big, dramatic events here. This is about the subtle stuff, the repeated emotional weather of your home, the constant low-level anxiety, the unspoken rule about not making waves. That atmosphere is what calibrated your nervous system, teaching it on a primal level what felt safe and what felt dangerous. Your body learns these rules without anyone ever saying a word. Your body learns, okay, I need to stay small here, or I need to be the funny one to keep things light, or I need to be perfect so I don't become a burden. And then, you fast forward a few decades, and that exact same physical pattern shows up in the boardroom as a frantic need to fill every silence, or a constant sense of urgency that you can't turn off. So, if we all have this deep, old architecture running the show, are we just stuck with it? Is that it? Well, the great news is the answer is a huge no. This is not a life sentence. The book lays out a really clear path forward, a journey really, from being driven by this old survival system to a completely new, more integrated way of leading. The path forward has these 7 sequential steps. And it's not a to-do list, it's more like a process of unfolding. It all starts with number 1, awakening, which is really just starting to notice your patterns in real time without beating yourself up about it. From there, you learn to stabilize, which is the ability to actually stay present with discomfort instead of immediately reacting. As you move through these steps, disentangling your identity from those old patterns, you eventually arrive at a place of real judgment, the capacity to see what a situation actually needs, free from all that old programming. And that's what leads to the final step, leadership without armor.
So what's the whole point of these 7 steps? Well, it's about making this fundamental shift. It's about moving from a state of survival to a state of true leadership. When you're in that survival mode, everything feels urgent, right? Your focus narrows and you're just reacting to what feels like a threat. But in a leadership state, you're steady. You can integrate lots of information and you can hold complexity without feeling like you're going to fall apart. The goal is to be able to consciously operate from this grounded state, especially when things get tough.
And that brings us to the final and honestly, maybe the most profound idea in this entire book. It's this: leadership isn't just about the decisions you make or the tasks you complete. It's about what you transmit to the people around you. Just sit with this one for a second. Your internal state, your own pace, your tone of voice, your readiness for a fight, it literally creates an emotional atmosphere around you. It's like you're creating the weather in the room. And your team, your family, they all learn to adapt to your weather. You are constantly transmitting your internal state, and that, more than anything else, is what shapes the culture you create.
And so that's where we'll end it. Look, this isn't about becoming some perfect, unflappable leader who never feels stress. It's about becoming aware of the old architecture that's driving you, so you can consciously choose what you transmit. Because whether you're a CEO or a parent or just a friend, the world around you is adapting to your weather. The only real question left is, what will it be?